again. Welcome back to Ineptus Astartes. I'm Ned, and I am joined here by the fabulous Doug from 2 Plus Tough.
Hey, everybody.
And if you missed the first round, you stepped into what's going to be a continuing series where Doug and I plan to give a review of all 18 legions. Today, we are talking about the first and greatest of those legions, especially if you ask them, the Dark Angels. Before we get started, I suppose we need to say thanks to Doug because his access to this material and from Games Workshop, thank you Games Workshop, is what allows me to get a look at these things and talk to you about this in depth so early. So thank you to Doug and thank you to Games Workshop. Also, if you are interested in this sort of content, like I said, this is the start of the second round of these videos. There is already up on my channel a Night Lords video covering the same basic sort of content, and there is a Sons of Horus video up on Doug's channel, 2 Plus Tough. So you should go ahead and subscribe. Please subscribe to this channel, and definitely subscribe to Doug's channel as well, so you can stay on top of this as we work through all this stuff. What did I forget? Did I forget anything, Doug?
No, that's it. We're ready to jump in.
Okay. We're starting early today, and neither one of us has had enough coffee, so we'll see how this rolls. Okay. So the goal of this whole series, honestly, is to give sort of a bird's eye view of what has changed, because there is so much change this edition, and we are staying positive about it for now because we have not, even ourselves, we have not seen all of those rules. Some of the things that you have done with your armies in previous editions are going to be very different. We're going to try to focus on talking to you about what the rules are, the new rules, and then sort of giving you an idea about how you're going to try to translate some of your old play styles into this new edition. So to start, let's talk a little bit briefly about the lore of the Dark Angels. The first legion, the Dark Angels, they are a group of soldiers that are sort of modeled after knights of old, knights with secret orders, masters of many different kinds of combats, and also, as the first legion, they were given access to some really interesting technology. And so, historically, not historically because it's not real, in the lore, try that better, they have like gizmos and gadgets that are supposed to be unavailable to other places. And so that changes the way some of the things in their army work. A little bit of that flavor has been lost so far, but we haven't seen the legacy PDF, so we'll see if some of that comes back.
For sure.
Anyway, the way that worked in last edition is that the Hexagrammaton is a 6-winged concept of war that the Dark Angels approach. And in the last edition, you would grant access to the rules from one of those 6 wings. The Stormwing, I'm going to try to do this off the cuff. The Stormwing, Deathwing, Ironwing, Firewing, Dreadwing, and Ravenwing. And each of them had slightly different play and flavor. Now, last edition, that meant 6 unique rights of war that you could use to play them. This edition, it means 6 unique detachments that allow you to field units in different ways. We'll get into the specific rules in a second, but I will point out one thing that's going to be important for people who haven't seen leaks yet. You do get still to have that sort of unique Hexagrammaton flavor in your army. It's just different. Now, one thing, the rights of war for Dark Angels last edition were really, really punishing because they had huge penalties and costs associated with fielding them.
Yeah.
You are losing a little specific flavor, but you're also losing a lot of that penalty in army creation, I think. So I think it's going to work out. And I think more than almost anybody, Dark Angels are going to have an extremely fluid list building process as a result.
Yeah, you're certainly like taking one of the Hexagrammaton rules doesn't lock you out of the others in this edition. And I understand
No.
there's kind of a give and take with that. There's positives and negatives flavor wise, but everybody gets to play with the maximum amount of their toys. I'm generally okay with that aspect of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be exciting, and actually, I mean, already, the way these the way these detachments are working is like there's a lot of option.
Yeah.
And with Dark Angels, it's just going to seem like even more, which for someone like me who enjoys the process of list building, I think is going to be is going to be a good time.
Mhm.
Okay. I would though like to pass it over to Doug now for him to talk then specifically about some of these things that changed, because there's been a lot of change, and of course we do have the addition of gambits, um, and some other things as well. So would you mind reading us through the Legion specific rules, Doug?
Yes, absolutely. So we'll kick it off with the Legion trait. This is if you are Legion Astartes Dark Angels, doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, you gain these. And we have the Angels of Death. Models with this special rule may never have their leadership characteristic modified to less than 6. Additionally, any variant of the Fear X special rule may only reduce the leadership, willpower, cool, and intelligence characteristics of any model with this special rule by a minimum of 1, regardless of the value. Oh, sorry, maximum of 1, regardless of the value of X. So it puts a cap on debuffs to your leadership and stuff like that, which is good.
It's
Good.
honestly, I think it's great. Um, and like there was last edition, there was a warlord trait that basically just granted everybody a +1 leadership for the Dark Angels. I took that one all the time when playing like practice games and whatever, because a +1 to leadership is great. Preventing debuffs to leadership is fantastic. That's before this edition, where debuffs to leadership and your other mental stats are going to be quite common.
Yep.
In particular, Dark Angels, which I think is appropriate, I think they're going to face up very nicely against, for example, legions like the Night Lords, which really are going to try to debuff your mental stats as much as possible.
Yes.
So I think this is really, really good. If you don't remember, or if you haven't seen so far, all the statuses you can get suppressed, panic, pinned,
Yes.
all of that stuff, stunned. They all have pretty debilitating things, but on top of that, every one of them reduces your combat initiative to 1. So they're crippling debuffs as far as surviving melee attacks or really engaging with the field in any way. So the Dark Angels having this built-in way to sort of protect against too much of a debuff is actually going to be a fantastic rule, in my opinion.
Yep. And it's going to be across every like morale sub phase, because the only 2 stats you check, regardless if it's panic, pinning, stun, suppressive, it's leadership or cool. So it's going to affect them. So that's
Right.
great.
Right.
Next up is their Gambit. So this is their unique gimmick, their rock, paper, scissors move they get to do whenever you're having a hero doing a challenge. And it is called the Sword of the Order. Let's see. If this gambit's selected, then as long as the model under the player's control is declared to be using a chainsword, power sword, force sword, paragon blade, or a weapon with the Sword of Order trait, we'll get to that, that's their armory weapons. In step 3 of the challenge subphase, that weapon's attack modifier characteristic is modified by -1, and it gains critical hit 6 up. If you already have critical hit 6 up, you actually gain +1 to it, so it would be crit 5. And so essentially you're saying fewer attacks, but those attacks on a 6 can explode. So critical hits, let me just triple check my wording here. This is the one where I believe it auto wounds and does +1 damage. Automatically
I
inflicts
believe
a
that's what
wound
we
without
said.
any dice being rolled, and it counts as having been rolled as a 6 if you have any special rules like breaching or something like that. It'll trigger those as well. So it could be quite good.
Yeah, it could be quite good, and also it's important to note that, especially this can, in particular, benefit nicely from some of the other units and rules that you might have.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so starting back in. So another thing that's interesting with this Gambit is that it pairs really nicely with certain units in the in the book, the leader. Oh my god, my brain turned off. In particular, the Knights Cenobium have their order exemplars, which give them extra bonuses. So if you can use their Tyrannic Greatsword, which is a staple Dark Angel's weapon, but if you're using a Knight Cenobium character or a Paladin who has one of these special rules, if you're using the Slayer of Kings and you're actually up against like a Praetor or something, the Slayer of Kings order special rule, which will we're going to talk more about the unit in a little bit, but you can actually grant an additional critical hit bonus here. So you can get up to a 5+ crit quite easily with a unit that you were going to take already, probably.
Right.
So this is a really nice gambit.
Okay. Yeah, I do like that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Moving into the armory. So those are your two main army rules.
Mhm.
Actually, real quick, I want to throw in the advanced reaction before I move too
Oh, yeah.
far away. So their advanced reaction is Vengeance of the First Legion. And this reaction allows the controlling player to choose to repeat the fight sub phase. It's once per battle, and how this works is like so you'll do your challenge combat, and that'll give you your combat score from that. Okay, so once the leaders have fought, then your units fight, and at the end of that combat, you can choose to do it again. But it does mean that like everybody gets to fight. It's the whole combat, barring the challenge. So you'll just take whatever that was, whatever modifier you got from that fight, roll it over into the new result, and you'll just do the whole fight all over again. Um, it is situational, but I mean anything that lets you fight twice, I think is good. But what are your thoughts?
Well, no, 100%. And there's actually some other interesting things about it. So, I mean, like, reactions are. I'm going to say this and realize that I've not checked. Reactions still have to be used in your opponent's turn, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, okay. So you're only ever going to be using this potentially on a turn when you are about to go again, right?
Mm-hmm.
This combat phase is right at the end, and you're about to start your next turn. So, like, if you have a situation where if you fight one more time, you can clear a unit, like let's say, because you would imagine at first that you'd want to use this specifically for like your biggest, toughest unit, like your Knight Cenobium or something like that. And you
Mm-hmm.
might, right? You might want them to swing their weapons and kill something really dangerous. Um, but you could also just use it in a situation where a despoiler squad is close to finishing off a tactical squad, or your despoiler squad is close to being finished off by your opponent's really scary unit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say at the end of your opponent's turn, you've got two despoilers left against Horus and a bodyguard, and you'd really like to pump Horus full of las cannon shots next round. Well,
Mm-hmm.
without this reaction, those two Marines, those two despoilers, are going to give cover to that enemy squad for a full turn, right?
Sure.
So there's actually quite a few clever ways that you can use this to gain tactical advantage, either to clear extra board space, to open up new possibilities, or whatever else. So
Yeah.
a
No,
really, really interesting tool.
it is. Now that I'm thinking about it, the way that weapon skill is different in this from like 40k or Age of Sigmar. If you have the advantage, that's a killer ability. Now that I think about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I'm in.
exactly.
I'm in.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, like, and think of just one more thing, just
Mhm.
like, um, even if like your opponent tries to slow you down with a giant tar pit unit, right? You
Mhm.
essentially get an additional round to clear out that chafe.
Yeah.
Um, pretty good, pretty
Yeah.
good.
Okay, so we'll pivot into the armory of the First Legion. And starting off, we have two swords. Okay, and we had some confusion when we were writing notes with this, so I'm gonna be very careful as I go over it. Blades of the First Legion. There are two swords: the Calibanite Warblade, which strikes at initiative at your attacks, +1 to the Strength modifier, AP3, and 1 damage with breaching 5 up. It has the Sword of the Order trait, and this is the part where I messed up, so let me go real careful. Any model can, with the Command, Champion, or Sergeant subtype and the Dark Angel's trait, can have its power weapon exchanged for 1 Calibanite Warblade for 5 points per model. Um, do you mind if I just do the other one quick and then we can kind of sum up the
Yes,
swords? Okay. The other one
yes.
is the Tyrannic Greatsword. This is -1 to your initiative. It's at your attack value, +2 strength, AP3, 2 damage, breaching on a 5 up, and it's again Sword of the Order. And this one, I'm sorry, the only thing different is this can be taken by command or champion types, but not sergeants.
This is pretty standard.
Mm-hmm.
As far as last edition, the Calibanite Warblade was available to sergeants, and the Tyrannic Greatsword was available to higher ranking officers. One thing, or a couple things are very different about
Mm-hmm.
this. I want to point out. So, last edition, the Calibanite Warblade was good, +1 strength power sword. However, a power sword was still considered like way inferior to power axes because you couldn't, power axe guarantees the AP2. We
Right.
talked about this in, I'm sure, both of the last videos,
Hmm.
but the change to power axes and melee weapons in general, and the fact that it's just more difficult um, to get AP2, makes you start looking at the faster weapons that still do about the same amount of damage, like power swords. But it doesn't matter here because Calibanite Warblades are essentially just like better than power axes this edition. If I
Yes.
like initiative +1 strength and they breach in the same direction. So these are great.
Yeah. Yeah, they're
They're
almost
going
like
to be
swords and
cheap.
axes put together, aren't they?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And because they have that Swords of the Order special rule, that special Dark Angels tag, which this is something that I'm glad they kept, by the way. So the Dark Angels have always specifically had a thing for swords.
Oh
They're
yeah.
knights, that makes sense. And so like and as a matter of fact, one thing we forgot to mention with the advanced reaction is that if you're the unit using the advanced reaction has swords of the order, they get shred 6+.
Oh yes, I'm so
So
sorry about that, guys. There's so much text.
there's so much text. But I mean, like, it just even more like the swords are good. The sergeant upgrade sword is great.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, you have access to it almost everywhere. It synergizes super well with a lot of your base rules.
Yeah,
It's just really good.
I love it.
The Tyrannic Greatsword is also good. We're missing out on instant death now.
Hmm.
Um, because instant death is gone in general. It used to have merciless strike, but instead, breaching 5 up takes it to AP2 with 2 damage. That's still pretty good, and good enough to help kill a praetor in a
Hmm.
challenge, especially. But even better when you add, breaching 5 up, shred 6 up with that reaction and some other things. Like there are a lot of explosive combinations of stats for this legion.
Yep, absolutely. So those are the swords. We also have two weapons, and these come stock standard on some units, but there's no wording about how to assign them to people. So units just have these. That's the plasma burner and the plasma incinerator, and essentially they are mostly normal plasma weapons that use a template instead of a range. Um, which I love. The plasma burner has sustained fire, template 1, range strength of 5, AP 4, damage 1. It's a template weapon, breaching on a 6 up, and it's plasma. Just like the other versions of plasma, you can increase the strength and the breaching by 1, so it goes up on a 5 up. And you also add overload, so it has a chance to blow up in your face. The incinerators are the exact same, except, let's see.
They're damage too.
Yes, yeah, that's what I was looking for, the difference here. And that's
Hmm.
really it. It has the two modes, sustained and maximal fire. They look more sexy in the context of certain units, but it's cool. Flamethrower plasma.
Yeah, the thing here is that all plasma just is worse this edition.
It is, yes.
And so like these are not going to be the crowd sweepers or the street sweepers that they were in other editions.
Hmm.
Um, one of the things that's going to be that's weird for me to think about right now because I've started to try to build lists, and if I take a look at this unit, it costs more or less how much it did last edition, and it was expensive last edition. It's worse this edition. And we're talking specifically about the interemptors. They're the ones that can use this. But one of the things to remember with all this is that a lot of things have gotten less lethal, and we see less access to AP2. So everything is relatively changing with relativity to everything else. So it's kind of hard to make like immediate judgments on some of this stuff, if
Sure.
that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. I also like weapons got less deadly, but the gameplay I feel like by incentivizing stuff with Vanguard, I'm not sure if the addition is less bloody. I don't know.
No.
Well, I'll have to be played out of it. So
Yeah.
last thing for the armory section here is their prime upgrade slot. So as you're building your list, each detachment is going to have one or more prime slots. When you take a troops unit to fill this one, can only be taken once per army. And one model in the unit selected to fill a Prime Force organization slot gains the Prime advantage. So you, let's see, pick a unit, pick one dude in it. They have their base weapon skill characteristic modified by +1. They must have its bolter exchanged for a Tyrannic Greatsword for free. And it gains the Order of the Hekantana Ska, which is how I pronounce that special rule. So what this means, functionally, you are taking one guy from a unit and elevating him to the rank of like a, I don't know, not termy, but like a termy level hero in terms of the rules they get, and they get a cool sword, weapon skill bonus. It's like a veteran going with a unit.
Well, it's the Centurion upgrade because it specifically has to be a Centurion. I would like to point out here
I'm sorry,
for
yes, it
everybody.
does.
Yeah, I would like to point out here for everybody who's seen the leaks, though, he can have a jump pack. I think that's important to note, because so many things lost jump packs in these new Liber leaks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he can have a jump pack, dang it! So if you built one like this, congratulations, he's not dead yet.
Yes.
But the Paladin is still it's still a good unit. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that was basically it. I just there's the text is kind of all over the place, so I missed that. But yes, a centurion or a centurion with jump pack. So yeah, you pick a guy and you elevate him. I like that. I mean, I like the
Mhm.
simplicity of it. There's not as many, what is it they called, prime slot advantages for heroes. I feel that are interesting. So this is good. It adds something I think that is unique.
Yeah. And
Um,
he gets access. It's similar to, or it is almost identical to the way it was in second edition. He gets at the orders of the heck. Oh my God, Hecatonistica,
Hekantanaska.
Hecatonistica. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he gets that thing. He gets those 6 rules, and we'll talk about all of those in depth when we get to that unit. But
Yeah,
we got to
absolutely.
move on. We got all these other ones to do too.
Yes. Now we're going to take a 40-minute detour and talk about all of the detachments that the Dark
Oh
Angels
my
have
God,
because nobody
forgot
else
about
has detachments like Dark Angels have detachments. I got one.
Yes, Sons of Horus got 1. Night Lords got 2.
Yes.
Most of the ones that I've seen have 1.
Yeah. 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 The
Oh,
first one is the Iron Wing Gauntlet, which is an auxiliary detachment. And that one, let me pull up the actual names of all the different unit types here, because that is going to be helpful to us because these guys are all over the place. Did they always have so many like ways of building an army?
yeah. So, like I said earlier, in the last edition and in first edition, they just had different right of war for every wing of the hexagrammaton.
Oh, cool.
So this is how they're bringing that concept into this edition.
Okay, so they have the Iron Wing Gauntlet has 2 heavy transports and 2 armor slots. That's basically it. There's no
Are there any? There's no restrictions on that one.
nope.
Cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
detachments in this edition are much more about just permission to take your toys than they are special rules or
Yeah.
anything. The next one
Yep.
is the Dreadwing Cadre, and this one is, I believe it's 3 support slots. So let's see. Yep, supports, and the rules are support slots in this detachment may only be used to select Dreadwing Interrupter units or Rapier Battery units.
I will say, note that the rapier batteries just got new plastics and they look great. And I think the rules are pretty good for those. And I think Phosphex is because Phosphex now does some more status
Mm-hmm.
implications,
Sure.
and so I think you'll see a lot of people using War Crimes again in the Dark Angels. Anyway.
I love it. Next
Hmm.
is the Stormwing Muster, and this has 2 troop slots, but they're both prime. And 2, what is that? Little symbol here. That is going to be 2 transports. 2 troops, 2 transports, but with no restrictions. Next
Which is
one. Yep.
Stormwing classically was the place where you just took the spoilers, tacticals,
Okay.
assault, whatever. So like that makes sense, and the fact that they get prime slots is cool. So
Yes.
they can give a little bit of an extra thing, a little bit of an extra boost to those. So I like that.
Cool. There's the Raven Wing Lance, which is 2 fast attack and 2 recon options. And it says recon slots in this detachment can only be used to select Outrider squadrons. So that's going to give you what, your javelin bikes and outriders.
Yep, yep.
Nice.
And that makes sense, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. But having a lot of bikes in those toys is good. A lot of other legions are going to have a hard time cleanly fielding this many bikes if they want them.
Agreed. And one of those fast attack slots is Prime, so you can upgrade
Yep.
something there. Next is the Deathwing Conclave, and this one is a retinue option, a heavy assault, and a elite troop choice, with the retinue having a Prime slot.
This detachment is going to be great for bringing the Cenobium Deathwing companions and other, like, this is a good detachment, even if you're not necessarily trying to lean into Deathwing flavor.
Mm-hmm.
This is a nice one.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last one here is the Firewing Echelon, and that is going to be 2 recon choices and 2 elite slots, and the elite slots can only be filled with seeker squads.
We talked a little bit in the Night Lord's book, or in the Night Lord's review, that Seeker squads I think might be pretty good.
Oh my
Their
god, yeah.
multiple ammo options have a lot of different possibilities, and I have always been a Firewing fanboy, so I'll be looking at including this in my list right away as
Yeah,
soon as I can. So
absolutely. I'm gonna get some seeker bits on order for sure. But that's it
yeah,
for all of the army rules. So before we get into the actual unit entries, what are your thoughts so far?
again, there's a lot of customization options here, and that's good to see. The unique combinations we get here for these things, it's going to be rare
Yeah.
for other legions to try to compare to this. If you want to get this many fast attack choices, if you want to get this many support choices, you're going to have to do a little bit more hero tax play, you know.
Hmm.
And so Dark Angels definitely have a big advantage in that regard.
Yeah. All right. So we'll crack into the units themselves with Lionel Johnson clocking in at 460 points. He has a pretty good stat line. By pretty good, I mean he's mid to high on Primarch scale. So weapon skill 8, ballistic skill 6, strength 7, toughness 6, 6 wounds, initiative 7, 7 attacks. And his
Mhm.
leadership is 12, and the rest of the mental stuff is all 10s. So that's crazy good.
I
Especially,
think I
yeah.
think we should. I'm sorry, just real fast. I think we should point out when you're looking at all these Primarchs, because okay, I can't speak for everyone, but if I've got a Primarch and my friend has a Primarch, usually they fight. So when I look at these Primarchs and I see that weapon skill 8, that's something I definitely pay attention to
Oh, yeah.
because, um, poor Conrad Kurz, the poor misunderstood soul that he is, he's only weapon skill 7. So
Oh,
hitting against his hated brother the lion on 5 ups is that's just too mean indeed. But it matters, so pay attention to that if you're a Primarch Fight Club kind of person. Anyway, keep
yes.
going, Doug. Sorry.
Oh, no, no, you're good. You're good. Let's see what else. He can have its the Lion Sword exchanged for the Wolf Blade for free. And I'm not the Lion Sword. I'm not seeing. Oh, here we go. The Wolf Blade. Basically, they're both swords of the order. One's a power sword. One's a chain sword that has a whole bunch of rules like shred and breaching. The Wolf Blade sounds better, in my opinion.
And more metal, but
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, what are you doing here?
Mhm.
You can also take a fancy pistol if you want. And the real thing about the Primarchs, though, is I love the way that they modify the army. Um,
Mhm.
in their special rules, like, I'm not going to go through the minutia of all the different weapon loadouts or whatever. There's not many options, but this is gained to the entire army, right? The Lion gains a bonus to focus rolls whenever he's wounded. That's awesome. If you let's see, model with this special rule engaged in a challenge. If it has 2 or few wounds remaining, its controlling player can select the following Gambit, and it gives him a modifier to the focus roll, hopefully meaning he'll get to strike first, right? To
Mhm.
firstest with the mostest. And then for the
Mhm.
army rule, if a model with this special rule is part of an army, then the controlling player may apply the following additional special rules to all auxiliary, apex, and primary detachments that have the same faction. If 4 or more troop battlefield role slots in the primary detachment of this army are filled, and these slots contain at least one tack squad, one assault squad, and one breacher unit. Then all Force Org slots with the troop battlefield role become primary, so you get those prime slot advantages. And furthermore, if a unit with this special rule is part of an army, then the following special rules are granted to all Outrider Squadron units and all Scimitar Jetbike Squadron units of the same army. When the controlling player of a model with this special rule makes a reserve roll for an Outrider Squadron, which only includes models with the Dark Angel trait, or same thing for Jetbikes, improve the roll by 1. So his reserves come in more consistently.
In particular, his reserves associated with like Ravenwing sort of things.
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize he kind of had a lean towards a specific wing, but I dig it.
Yeah, it's interesting because what's funny about this to me is that in order to unlock this, right, to get the prime advantages, you have to pick kind of a smattering of troops. Like you kind of have to go broad instead of deep.
Yep.
And then his special rule is very specific to just one of the hexagrammatons, but it does make them quite a bit better in a way that you could just invest a little bit of energy into your Raven Wing. And I mean, realistically, you're going to want to use a couple of different their special auxiliaries or detachments in a game, right? And so this allows that little chunk to just be a little bit better while having a lot of the different assortments. And I think that's cool. I think that's pretty Dark Angels.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, if it feels thematic that they would like want to demonstrate mastery in all different aspects of warfare. So having this spread of units, it's cool. It can seem a little busy in list building, but I mean, all of those things have uses, so it's not like the worst tax.
Right.
Okay.
If you don't like bikes or speed or jet bikes, this will be kind of like meh to you for sure, which is a little bit unfortunate. There's other Primarchs that have more obvious benefit to the specific synergies than this one, but it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, our next character here is Corswain, Paladin of the 9th Order, clocking in at 220 points. And he is kind of on par with a Praetor, so weapon skill 7, ballistic skill 5, strength 4, toughness 4, 4 wounds, 10 leadership, and then 9 across the boards for all the other mental stuff. And he comes with a bolter, bolt pistol, the blade, armor of the forest, and some grenades. So, just as a zoom out kind of thing, this is a character who's really good at challenges. That's his thing. The blade that he has gives him duelist edge, so he's getting a bonus. So duelist edge 2, so he gets a bonus to his focus roll. And his armor of the forest it reduces the amount of damage suffered from wounds inflicted in a challenge by 1 to a minimum of 1. So
yeah, he's really good. And we should note that his weapon skill 7 is better than a Praetor and on brand or on equal to several Primarchs. So like
yes.
he is a duelist machine.
Yep. And with them emphasizing the challenge mechanic, I like seeing more of these heroes, these smaller ones, have more of a presence to specialize in something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next one is a character I have not personally heard of, Marduk Cedrus, Lord of the 23rd Order, clocking in at 225 points. And when he is attached to a unit, everybody gains Hatred Traitor, which I can double check what Hatred does.
It is a +1 to wound in combat, I believe.
You are correct. So
nice little bonus, but yeah.
Yep, and that's kind of his big thing. He's what is he? He's a Terminator, right? Yeah.
Yep. He's a Cataphract Terminator. He's typically associated with, or in the past he was Dreadwing associated. So he's got like, let's see here. Yeah, he's got Phosphex bombs. Dreadwing loves that stuff. He's a pretty cool guy. His rules last edition were something like anyone who started within 6 inches of him at the start of the game gained hatred traitors or something, or hatred towards a specific faction, I think. So what was funny is that you actually were like incentivized to start him just on the board.
Yeah.
So he can be like, "Hey guys, we hate those dudes."
Yes,
and then everybody mounts up and rolls out. So
Yep.
it's just kind of funny.
I will say he has the plasma burner, so I like the idea of him being at the
Yeah.
front of a unit. They get charged, light him up with the template, and now you can
Yep.
do damage and give everybody hatred traitor. So I like that.
He's got,
Uh,
and his sword is really good. +5 strength and damage 3 with AP 2. So like he's chunking friends,
yeah,
and
he's gonna
only a
have
minus
to.
2 initiative.
Hmm.
Only a -2 initiative, so it's as fast as a Thunderhammer.
Yeah, so but it's -2 initiative, but he's going. Is this? No, this isn't the guy who gets bonuses to his focus roll. Never mind. But I don't. I
Mm-mm.
mean, he's gonna clobber him if you let him touch you.
Yeah. Yep.
Next entry is the Deathwing Companion Detachment. This is a retinue option for 175 points, and it includes 1 Deathwing Oath Bearer and 4 Deathwing Companions. Movement skill 7, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 4. The rest of it's normal marine stuff, aside from having 2 wounds.
Mhm.
And they have Eternal Warrior 1. I have that right here. Um, Basically, it reduces incoming damage by 1 to a minimum of 1. So it makes them a little bit more tough, especially with 2 wounds. And let's see. Okay, so we went through this a little bit. Any model in this unit can have its Calibanite Warblade exchanged for one of the following: Power Fist or a Tyrannic Greatsword for some points. And
And I think
everybody.
it's important to note only 5 points for both of those upgrades. 5
Yes.
points.
Yes, yes, yes. Any model in this unit can have its bolter exchanged for 1 Scytheron pattern Aegis for 10 points. A model with this thing has a 5-up invuln and gains the shield trait. In addition, a controlling player of that unit with any models with one of these pattern Aegis things, I can't say that word, may declare shield wall advanced reaction for that unit.
So what does the shield wall advanced reaction do, Doug?
It allows the reactive player to gain a bonus to the toughness characteristic of a model in a unit targeted by a shooting attack or volley attack if the majority of those models have the shield trait. Is
Now,
that
the companion's special rule specifically says um, that you ignore the normal restrictions here. So as long as you got one of these guys with this thing, then you can use that reaction, which is awesome.
yeah. Yep. Okay. So that's one I actually hadn't gone down the path and thought of, because we were talking for the longest time. We could not figure out what the shield trait does. Like there's no.
It's got to give it.
Yeah.
Does it just give it? Does it just give access to this advanced reaction?
Basically, yes. If most of the
Okay.
units have shield, this seems to be the only thing it does for you, which is cool. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, when you take a look at all of the things that this unit does, then so there has always been a discussion. Well,
Mhm.
okay, there has always been a discussion. In the discussions between myself and the one other guy that I know who really, two other guys that I know that really play Dark Angels, there's always an interesting discussion about the difference between the Cenobium and the Deathwing Companions. The Cenobium have some benefits in that they're like not retinue choice, so they're easier to get access to.
Okay.
The companions have different rules. They're a little bit cheaper, but they don't have a 4+ invulnerable save. They do, however, have this shield. Deathwing Companions now having the ability to use this shield advanced reaction, they still are protecting. They still are protecting people from sniper fire.
Hmm.
They have Eternal Warrior 1, so that they're taking a lot less damage as they're tanking hits for your Praetor.
Hmm.
I think that really elevates them this edition,
No,
but we'll
absolutely.
see.
When I think
Yeah,
of the retinue slot, I think of units that are meant to help me deliver my characters.
yeah,
Whatever that looks like. It could be they kill their way to the heart of the enemy, or they're just hyper defensive. And this seems like a great
right.
way to deliver. What is his name? Corswain. I would do
Yeah,
that. Like he just wants to get
right.
into something. He
Well,
only
and
needs a
even
turn or two
even
to
if
walk away.
not, and it's not just like they're there to soak up wounds too, because they're going to kill a lot of stuff along the way because they've got such good access to those great sword weapons that Dark Angels have. So this is a really really good unit, and the fact that you can give anybody in this unit a Tyrannic Greatsword for 5 points is, um, it's really cheap. It's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I dig it. Okay. So I like them. It's at least a role that's very well defined.
Yeah.
Retinue, keep your hero alive. I like that. Our next
Mhm.
one here is the Dreadwing Interremptors. This is 1 Interremptor Prefectus and 4 Interremptors, clocking in at 125 points. These are sort of basic Marines in the sense of 3 up save, 1 wound, weapon skill, ballistic skill 4, strength 4, all that kind of stuff. But what makes them special is they can take the aforementioned plasma burners, the template weapons, which are pretty cool. Let's see. They also have a rule called Bitter Duty, which I will look up now for us.
It the before that was the destroyer rule, where they're essentially they can't be grouped with certain people and that sort of
Gotcha.
thing.
Yeah, they cannot.
Although,
They can't join models, or you can't merge units if they don't also have
yeah,
this rule. Okay.
interestingly enough, there are several legions that have destroyer coded uh, units,
Mm-hmm.
but destroyers themselves do not appear to be in the main book. So, not sure what that means.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to get them later on, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
The fact that the bitter duty rule is still here makes me believe that they're going to show up at some point, but I don't know.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, at least in terms
Yeah,
of future casting or whatever.
yeah, right. Um, I kind of already talked about this unit beforehand. I think they're good. I think they're fun. And I think I don't have, but I'm not confident enough to make a prediction about how good these are or are not going to be. The change to plasma means they're not going to be doing the kind of work as before.
Mm-hmm.
But when we take a look at how all the other weapons stack up to things, we might change our mind on it. So,
Sure. One in every
great
5.
models, though.
Oh yeah, they're really cool. 1 in every 5 of them can take from the list of the following: destroyer missile launchers with rad missiles and stasis
Mhm.
missiles for 15 points, or upgrade to the plasma incinerator, so that's 2 damage weapon for 15.
Mhm.
I want to look at this missile launcher because I got a bunch of these things. So it's a
The
missile launcher.
stasis,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Go ahead.
24-inch range. Firepower is going to be 1 or 2 shots. Rad missile gets 2. Strength is 4. For the missile, rad missile, it's AP3, 1 damage, poison 2 up, and phage T, which means when you hit them, or sorry, when you do damage to them, their toughness is going to be reduced by 1. So that's what the rad missile does. And then the stasis missile is amazing. Has no AP, so whatever. Damage 2, blast 3 inches, stun 3. Stun 3 is the big draw there. Essentially, you're
That's
going to take
that's
a cool check at a -3.
yeah, that's an insane debuff.
Yep. Yep.
And that alone might be like that alone might be interesting. It caused you to think about taking 5 of these guys in a rhino, just like
Yeah.
popping out and yeah,
Or, I mean,
it's
another one where it's just like, set him with a hero, let him charge him. Okay. The whole unit has template overwatching plasma pistols. What are you going to do?
and rad grenades.
Yep.
The rad grenades on top of that too. So I mean, yeah, it's really I don't know. It's really interesting to think about.
I,
That's fun, and
mhm.
there's definitely options here that look nice.
Yeah. I think between the 2 missiles, I generally would go with the stasis just because I like the stun 3, but the poison one is pretty cool thematically.
It's also more consistent
Hmm.
because of that AP3 plus the poison 2 plus.
Of course.
And they yeah. I mean it's you get them both for the points, but I mean you don't have to choose. You can deploy whichever at whatever time is what works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. The next one here is the Inner Circle Knights Cenobium for 275. This is, I believe, your fancy Terminators that everybody
Yes.
has. It concludes, let's see, yeah, 1 Preceptor for Cenobites, and they have the standard flavorful Terminator, so the weapon skill 5, toughness 5,
Hmm.
2 wounds, 3 attacks
Hmm.
each. And each of them comes with a Tyrannic Greatsword and a Plasma Caster. And what else is there? Their big thing is that this is the entry with the heck and ton of ska rules that you're picking from that we mentioned earlier, so we can go into
Yep.
detail about those. But yeah, so everybody has a template plasma gun, one of the super swords that are really cool, and they're again the heck and ton of ska thing. When a unit that includes any models with this special rule is selected to be part of a detachment during your army selection, a single option from the orders of the heck and ton of ska presented below is selected, given to all models in that unit. So you take these, you get to choose one of these 6 upgrades. Are we ready?
Mhm. I'm ready.
Augurs of Weakness. When making attacks targeting a unit that includes one or more models with the vehicle type, models in the Order Exemplar special rule gain the Armor Bane special rule. Armor Bane in this edition is your glances become penetrating hits.
I will say that because you can no longer take weapons stronger than like strength 6, this one I don't rate this one much at all anymore, because you're gonna have a really hard time, doing damage to at least many of the more scary vehicles. You'll be able to slap up some rhinos and predator chassis,
Yeah, I was
but
thinking the same thing. I was like, well, no one's ever
yeah,
been like, how am I going to kill this rhino? Right? It's never
yeah.
the rhino that's the problem. Okay.
And the other thing too is, you know, this unit suffered one of the same problems that a lot of other units did, is that it used to be able to take thunderhammers, but because that was not part of the original kit, that option has been removed. So you are just taking the Tyrannic Greatsword. So all of your thinking about what you're going to use these things for comes down to those weapons.
Yeah, that's a big bummer. We'll talk about that in a second. Um,
Yep.
Icons of Resolve. Whenever this unit is charged, the leadership characteristic is set to 10 for the duration of the current assault phase, which is pretty sexy. I mean, it's a more reactive one. I don't know if it's my personal fave because I don't want to be charged. I want to do the charging, but I get it. What I'm curious about, like, let's say you're in combat with Unit A and you get charged by Unit B. Now it's 2 versus 1. Are you leadership 10 against Unit A? I would think so. You
I
were
mean, yeah.
charged that turn.
If you Yeah, if your stat goes up, your stat goes up. I don't think it
Yeah,
matters necessarily.
cool. Next one is Slayer of Kings. It uses the word whilst. Whilst part of a unit that is locked in combat with an enemy unit that includes at least one model with a special rule, with a model weapon skill characteristic of 6 or higher, the attacks characteristic of models with this special rule may be set to 1. If this option is used, the Tyrannic Great Swords those models have gain critical hit 6 up. Special rule until the combat ends. So, you fight someone with a weapon skill of 6 or more. You can choose to take a negative modifier to your attacks number. Everybody goes down to 1, but everybody gets exploding 6s. Which on Tyrannic Greatsword, which you breach on a 5 up, that would be an auto. Yeah, that would be an auto wound +1 damage. It could be good.
It could be good. You're losing a lot because you're giving up 2 attacks
Yeah.
to get this. But like it could make some of that explode a little bit.
Yep.
This one, the last edition, was allowing you to re-roll ones, and so this is definitely a big change.
Next is Hunter of Beasts. And this is while you're locked in combat with an enemy that has a toughness characteristic of 6 or higher, the damage characteristic of wounds caused by this unit's weapons is modified by +1. I like that.
This is really great for killing things like dreadnoughts and demons once we see them, and probably also Cybernetica. Probably.
Yep.
I haven't really looked at the mech book, but yeah, I think this is a good one.
I like anything that lets me swing above my weight class. And so for an elite
Yeah,
unit to be able to tag something that's beyond the armor of a human, right? The toughness of a human. I like it.
right.
Next one is Reapers of Hosts. Whilst a part of a unit that is locked in combat with enemy units that outnumber it, then all models in that unit increase their attacks by +1. So that's cool.
So this one is probably, if you're looking at like what's the biggest force multiplier, this
Yeah.
one is probably the best. Um, I see the Cenobium this edition as being something you use to kill like dreadnoughts,
Mm-hmm.
um, Primarchs, or if you have to clear just a huge wing of chaff, then the Reaper of Hosts is the good one too. The thing is, of course, because they're bulky too, because they're Terminators, then if you're trying to field more than 5 of these, you're going to need to be attacking a giant squad.
Yeah.
So your Reaper of Hosts squads, which you're using hopefully just to clear medium level troops, you're looking at minimum squads for that. It's just a
Yeah.
thing to point out so that you can gain benefit of it at all.
Totally. But it does make me think of like how Grey Knight players design their lists in 40k, where it's like you have a bunch of small squads, but this one's going to be designed for anti-infantry, and this one's going to be a
Yeah.
missile that goes after dreads. And I get that.
Right. No, and I mean, I think that's very Dark Angels as we've seen because of their detachments and everything else. So yeah, I think but I think that's the way I see this being worked. Otherwise, if I'm looking to kill command squads or Primarchs, then I'm looking at the beasts, and if I'm looking at clearing board space, then I'm looking at the hosts.
Sure. And the last one is Breakers of Witches, which I love. If you're locked in combat against an enemy with the Malefic or Psyker traits, so it's the entire unit, even if there's just a hero attached to them. Hit and wound tests made for models with this special rule are modified by +1. So +1 to hit and wound against Psykers and demons. Which
I mean,
it's
it's really
specific,
great.
but I would go punch a
Yeah.
Thousand Suns player. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, and I mean, like, yeah, potentially good, potentially very useful, but situational.
Yep. And that is it for their entries because they wasted all the ink on detachments, but not enough new units. So,
Well, so Dark Angels in
yeah.
particular, like they have historically bunch of different legacy units.
Okay.
So we'll see how many of those get picked up in the PDF that I'm presuming it's going to come out on launch day. But I guess I don't know. Uh, there's a lot of things in there that are missing
Mm,
traditionally. So once we see that, we'll have a better idea. But they do have a lot of data. They do have a lot of other units that are potentially going to come and reshape the way we think about this stuff. But
for sure.
overall, I think pretty good stuff, pretty good units. The Cenobium have changed. The companions have gotten better. The Interemptors are. I'm unclear about where they stand, considering how everything else is going to shake out with it. But we'll have to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, with the universal change to specialty units losing the ability to kind of kit out their war gear and are now more kind of confined to what the models are. That's a
Yeah.
massive step back for this legion. However, if we're looking at it just as everybody has had that affected them, which it has for the most part,
Yes.
I do think that their options are really flavorful. Like I like the companions. The
Yeah.
interemptors, are they the best choice? I don't know, but I know that a unit of 5 template plasmas sounds cool.
It does sound cool.
So it's there. I don't, like I said, I don't know the minutia of what the rights of war were like in the last edition, but I do feel
Hmm.
um, between Lion, the cool characters you have for challenges, and in my opinion, I think the companions are the best, just coolest in my mind. But like, I think there's some good stuff here.
I think and real let's be honest, we didn't plan this necessarily. We just started sort of drawing names to decide which legions we were going to start with, based upon what our interests are and what we think people would want. The legions that we chose first, none of them have really suffered from the loss of war gear as much as others,
It's true.
right? Um, yes, you're losing Thunderhammers on the Knight Cenobium, but some legions lost a lot.
Yes. Yep.
And the Cenobium will still play and feel like the Cenobium. The Dark Angels are still going to more or less feel the same, I think. Unless there was something very, very specific that you did with one of the rights of war. But like, there will be compatible ways of play. And honestly, I think they'll be less restrictive, even though you're losing out on all the individual special rules from the different wings. You're going to be less restricted in building creatively this edition than you were last edition for Dark Angels by a long shot. So
I'd
a
agree.
net win, in my opinion.
Hmm. Yeah, man. And to finish out, I think we are going to continue the tradition of showing off some characters that we built with these rules.
Yeah. So one of the things we try to do here, we did it with both of our last videos. Um, Challenges are going to be big in this edition, and so building characters and thinking about how to build characters that make that more flavorful is kind of a thing we've assigned ourselves to do. Doug and I both have one for this. We do love the flavor of the Dark Angels. One of the things interesting before we get into that, though, is to point out, um, with all of the apologies I can give to the Dark Angels fans, in other videos we've talked about our favorite stories involving the legions,
Yes.
and like, well, Doug, your comment on the note sheet here says, "I have yet to read Heresy Dark Age book that I like." LOL.
We read
And
two of them back to back for the Emperor Protects, and I was like, why does anyone like this Legion?
so I mean, it's tough. Um, they're not the best books by any stretch of the imagination. Also, there's author changes and whatever.
Sure.
Um, my the best reviewed book that I've heard of from the Dark Angels is the Lions Primarch novel, and I have not gotten around to reading it.
Okay.
The flavor is there. It's just the writing is super inconsistent. I can't remember. I think it's book 4, maybe in the series, is the first Dark Angels book, and
Yep.
like 80% of the book is before the Dark Angels become Space Marines. So it's
Yes.
just like there's just some strange editorial choices behind it, and yeah. So I don't love the lore. It's very different from some of the other legions we'll be talking about, where I loved the lore, and then somehow I like the Dark Angels without their lore. So
Yeah,
it
I
is what it
mean,
is.
I was being facetious before when I said I don't know why anyone would play this. Actually, I enjoyed the books, but they were much more reminiscent of like Age of Sigmar, where there's this weird level of arcane technology mixed with knights. I was like, this
Oh,
feels
okay.
like they just accidentally put it in the wrong press. But
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I can
you
see
know,
that. And I've not read a lot of the I've not read a lot of the Sigmar stuff, but I can totally see that now that you mention it. That makes sense.
yeah, no, but
All
they
right.
were fine. Good.
Do you want to introduce your Centurion, sir?
Yes, I do. This is a Centurion in Terminator armor. That's the unit entry I chose, and the name is High Knight Adrano Krios. Um, Gambits of note that I plan on using is the -1 attack for the critical on a 6-up. That's the Sword of the Order rule. And for his Order of the Heckanton of Ska, I'm going to do Hunter of Beasts, +1 damage to attacks against T6 enemies. And what I really want is a hero that can travel with Cenobium Knights and go elite hunting. And in this edition, Deep Strike is rarer and less focused upon. So I'm going to put them in a Spartan taxi, and we're just going to go cruising.
Mm. Um, I have chosen Breacher Sergeant Samaeus, brother of the Deathwing, and one of the things that I like to do, I think that Sergeant and Sergeant challenges are going to be fun this edition,
Yeah.
and I'm hoping to see them more, more and more. Um, I'm giving him. I'm letting him have. He's got his shield, his boarding shield, and I'm giving him the Calibanite Warblade because it's a symbol of the chapter.
Yep.
It's really good. It's cheap. One of the things I can imagine, like a soldier, a leader of a line unit, getting this kind of power weapon. Nothing too flashy, nothing too fancy. And he's got his little quote here for the lion: "For a Caliban, we hold this line." I imagine him using the guard up Gambit
Mm-hmm.
and really sticking to the defensive ability, both provided by his shield and then his just native skill, holding the line in flavor and then also in the rules. So
Yeah.
that's my view of that.
Absolutely. I dig it. All right, my friend, it is your episode. How do you want to roll us out?
Yeah, I shall. I want to, one thing I forgot to do last time, both of the last times, is first of all, thank you for listening this long. If you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I need to thank my patrons, my Patreon subscribers. There's like 3 of you, and the little bit of support you give helps pay some of the monthly bills that I have for this largely. It's going to be an active channel, I promise. I'm going to post like 2 videos in 4 days. You're going to be so surprised. But anyway, thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you to Doug for giving me this opportunity, and Games Workshop, of course, for giving him this opportunity that he has helped share with me. Anything else to say, Doug?
Nope. Stay tuned. Click subscribe to an episode Starties and to more stuff if you feel like it. And
You
thank
should.
you so
Be
much
bold.
for having me.
All right. Thanks a lot. Take care next time.